Welcome to the School of Moxie podcast. I'm your host, Mary Williams. This season, we're talking about one thing. My business pays for my life. We're not talking about side hustles or someday dreams. We're talking about businesses that actually pay for your life. So your rent and your mortgage, your health insurance premium, the whole kit and caboodle. The thing you are not going to get today in this episode, you are not going to hear my guest read their resume at you for 15 minutes. We're skipping the highlight reel and going straight to the good stuff. We're talking about timelines and trade-offs and the money conversations that not enough people are talking about out loud, but we're about to do it here on this show. If you want to know all the details about who this person is and what they do, that's what the show notes are for. Go check them out. Follow their links. Please support their work because you don't really get to know somebody from just one episode. You get to know them by showing up for their work day after day. That's what they've done for their own communities, and it's what I'm asking you to do for them. All right, let's get into it. Jessica, I'm so glad you're here with me. You have a banging background, and you are like the perfect guest for this season. And you were the first person who responded to my casting call too, which is also really special. And I just can't wait for everybody to get to know you.
I'm excited to be here.
Well, we are looking at everything as we do on School of Moxie through TV shows and movies. And so I've asked everyone this season, instead of having a unifying show that we all watch, I'm asking you all, what's your favorite comfort show or comfort movie? And you've got a really good one.
It's Younger. Yes. From TV Land, but now on Hulu or Netflix. It's on both places. Some places.
Both places, right? Yeah. It's been out long enough that you can find it in lots of places. Would you like to tell us why this is your comfort show? What keeps you coming back to it again and again? For people who don't really know what Younger is, you can also kind of explain it to us.
So the premise of Younger is that a 41-year-old New Jersey divorced housewife has to get back into the career, so she pretends like she's 26. And it stars Sutton Foster from Broadway / Bunheads, if that's people watch that, and Hilary Duff and Debbie Mazar and the SVU lady, her husband.
Yes, it's her husband. He doesn't have an identity. He's just her husband. Mariska Hargitay.
There you go. Yes.
There we go. Oh, that show it's so good. And it's, I think for those of us who are in our 40s, we're like, oh, I feel so seen.
Yeah, it's my favorite comfort show because they're both kind of all ridiculous, but they're all characters that you really like. You want to spend time there. I want to spend time drinking wine with Liza. There's enough drama to keep you coming back. When will they find out? She's 41. But it's the real relationships with the characters that keep coming back, but also like there's some good love interests.
Yes.
There's a team, for those of you who haven't watched it, Team Josh, who is her 26-year-old love interest, and then Team Charles, who is the publisher because she works in publishing. And they're both like compelling male characters, but it's not about the men. It's very much about the relationship with the women. Yes. And as someone who wrote a book, I look at the publishing and the marketing and I'm like, that tracks. Yeah.
I always said that there are these secondary characters, and I find that I fall in love with secondary characters in shows like this. And I would watch an entire series featuring Lauren and Diana so hard. Like they are, to me, just the snarky, fun pair.
I don't know if I could watch a whole show with Lauren. I could watch a whole show from Diana's point of view.
Yeah.
But Lauren's, that's like the sprinkle on top when it's just sprinkle.
Oh, that's a good point.
Because did you watch season 7?
Yes. I mean, maybe a little bit too much is a little too much when it comes.
That was the COVID season where not all the players got to come back.
Yeah.
And so you could only get the players you could get.
Yes. And even the actress who plays Diana, she must have been somewhere. And so in her storyline, she's always like, when you see her, it's through like a video call and she's traveling or something. And
yeah.
But I do love that she finds Enzo, her boyfriend. That is
the plumber.
The plumber boyfriend.
I got sick the last couple of weeks, and I rewatched all of it on the couch.
Oh, that's medicine.
Yes.
You know, I find that the things that we come back to when you're sick, when you are having a down moment, and you're like, this thing fills my cup back up. tells so much about like who you are and how you function and like where you get your resiliency from. And that all is very directly seen in all of our businesses. Like it's got our thumbprints all over it. And I'm just wondering for you, like, what does the story of Younger reveal about your values, leadership, your brand, maybe your approach to business? Like, how do you think that shows up in all your spaces?
They kept trying. Every time they tried, the amount of political changes at the publishing company were, that's one of the hooks to keep the drama going. But every time it was like, try something, get knocked down, try something, get knocked down, try something, get knocked down. And yet again and again, it was like invention, ingenuity, and sheer hustle.
I think it's so interesting when the show came out because publishing has continued to go through even more changes. And when that show came out, it was all about like Twitter and social media, and watching Liza not figure out Twitter is so entertaining.
It flashed forward to Substack, really, though, because the last season was like 2021, and they are talking about a new publishing model where you release chapters on a paid model. I'm like, yeah, that was like good Substack when Substack, I don't know how we feel about Substack these days, but it did talk about that as the model. And it does make me think, I'm like, so my book is like $25, or I could have just dripped it over a year on Substack and made $300. So the model of publishing is interesting at this moment in time.
I would say, like, hasn't that model always kind of been around though? Like Substack just made it seem extra like sexy because of the way they marketed the SaaS platform. But I look to authors like Andy Weir, and he's been writing a blog, and like The Martian, which is one of my favorite business stories about a book. The Martian was something that he was just drafting and putting out to his blog readers. And then he got all of the hobbyist astrophysicists and then some NASA astrophysicists who got on, and like the math in the book is real because they all just collectively like solved the problems together and checked his math. And eventually then he realized there was enough. So then he released it to the Kindle store as like a 99-cent book or something. And then the rest is history, just kept going and going from there. And so I don't know, I look at it, and of course I don't have a book and I'm not an author, so I'm not like in it on a daily basis, but it seems to me like the stuff we used to do from the blogging days still persists. It's just like, what platform makes it seem sexier?
Oh yeah, I mean, the whole release it one at a time was Dickens, right?
Yeah.
So
yes,
it's really just like it's cyclical. It'll come back.
It will come back. Yes. Everything that once was uncool will become cool again.
I'm just waiting till skinny jeans come back in.
I want full rise jeans. No, I love that Younger is the show that you picked because that like dogged pursuit and the persistence and the creativity to kind of roll with the punches, I think shows up in your business. And I'm just going to remind everybody that they can go and click on all your links and look at all your info in the show notes for this episode. But that I would encourage them to really check you out and dive into the canon of your work, which is something that we cannot cover in a 60-minute podcast episode. Like it's something that you have to like sit down and get to know Jessica and like really spend time with you in your work,
I appreciate that.
Well, everybody this season, has been booked on this podcast because we are looking for people who can accurately say, my business pays for my life. And girl, your business pays for your life. It does it. And I am wondering, can you tell us, so we can kind of get an insight to the things we don't always see that are public, but at what point did you realize that your business was paying for your life? And do you think like there was a time period that it took for you to reach that milestone? Like what was that journey like?
So a little bit of background. I worked in corporate America for 15 years. My last job, just so people understand kind of where I was coming from, I was making $210 salary wise, plus the 401k match and things like that. And my husband was not, he's making under six figures at the time. So I was the primary, it was 50, 70, 30, the income. Yeah. We radically downsized before I quit. Like this was a planned thing, but I needed to bring in, $100K after taxes to pay my share of the bills. Took me a year and a half to make that top line and about 2 years to be sustainably paying myself at the rate I needed to pay to cover my share of the bills. And it took me, I would say 5 years with the expenses. I made the top line revenue faster, but I spent my way a little bit to get there, and we'll talk about that. But it took me 5 years until, if my husband were to become unemployed, I would be able to fully fund our household.
That is such a powerful picture. You are one of my few people this season who has like a dual income situation, but the income that you bring in and the picture that you present is so strong. And I think it's so important for people to see that, like, when we're looking at this discussion, because a lot of people do live in dual income households, that it's not a matter of like, oh, I retired my husband or some trend like that. It's like, no, if something catastrophic were to happen, God forbid, but if it were, you would be able to keep the household running. There wouldn't be some drastic thing where like, oh no, we have to sell the house and we're going to like extremely downsize because one income isn't enough. This is not that situation for you.
My husband actually, he loses his job on Tuesday.
Oh, wow.
We've known this was coming back in November. They announced that his division was getting eliminated. We bought a 2-bedroom townhome during COVID. But we both work from home. We'd outgrown it. And we knew that back in November, we needed to upgrade. And there was a fluke where this house was in our townhome complex, went on the market. So we bought, because we didn't know, with the market these days, when's he going to get another job? We don't know, right? We can last on my income, but there's no way that we're going to get a mortgage with my self-employment income. So we needed him to have a solid W-2, but I needed to prove that I not only was paying myself a W-2, but that my business had profit. And when they're like, oh, your business looks like it's not going to have quite as much profit this year in December, I'm like, well, I paid myself a higher salary, but they don't look at that in the underwriting. I'm like, I gave myself a $10,000 pay raise. And they're like, you made $10,000 less profit. I'm like, no. Like, my owner pay is the same. But yeah, like, we were preparing for he'll eventually get another job. But like, is it 2 months, 6 months, a year? I don't know, but we need to be prepared for that.
There's so much smart planning in that. So thank you for being willing to let people in behind the curtain, because I don't think we hear enough about this in our business world. Like, we focus so much on vanity metrics and somebody's like gross launch figure, which you and I both know is not the true picture. And to like hear real business owners who are really running sustainable enterprises is, I think, just such a needed conversation that we need to do more of. So do you ever feel like you work more than some of your peers because of like the level that you function at and what you're making?
Do I ever feel like that? Like, it's more like, do I ever not feel like that? For 5 years, I've been in business 5.5 years, and I work like it's a corporate job. For the first couple of years, I was doing fractional COO work. That's how my first 2 years, I was doing contract consulting in addition to business consulting. Then I moved into high touch fractional COO work, which is pretty demanding. But I knew I didn't want to be building this. I didn't want to do high touch fractional COO forever, because I have many reasons for that. But I was tired of being the engine behind someone else's business. But then you get into the high services trap, where you are making a lot of income from your services business, which means you don't have time, which means that you need to pay time or money to build up your leveraged arm, the content engine, the courses, so like when I was doing fractional COO work, I had 400 people on my mailing list, and I was making, $200,000. In order to not do that kind of work, I needed to build an audience. I needed to build a body of work. I needed to build, visibility and distribution, and I needed to build assets, and I wanted to write my book. And so I was basically running 2 businesses at the same time. Now they fed off each other, and I was able to put them, like, basically for 4 years, the leveraged arm of my business. So, courses, cohorts, membership, it basically didn't make any money because I was spending all the money that I was making revenue wise on a team to help me run it, on podcast guest hosting, pitching, on an illustrator for my YouTube illustrations, an editor. I spent all the money because I didn't have the time to run both businesses simultaneously. So I took the money that I was making and used it to basically help support the leveraged creator side of my business.
That, I think, is a reality picture when people talk about like reinvesting into their business. I mean, this is an accurate picture of what that looks like. It's not just for lack of a better term, bullshit spent. Like, no. There's real strategy behind it. And I think that's really important. How long did that take you to straddle it that way?
I was straddling it for 4 years.
Oh, that's significant.
I mean, it wasn't completely like, part of it was like, oh, I'm going to write my newsletter every week, right? But you're writing a newsletter every week. I taught a free class with a brand new teaching for 4 years. So almost 40 classes. I did 50 podcast guest interviews. I did 50 guest teaching spots. At the same time, I was running my services business in order to grow the audience I needed, because I'm terrible at the short form content game. I never figured it out.
Yeah.
And so I built both of those for roughly, I would say with the crux of that was about 3 years.
Wow, that is such a great reality picture. Also, I mean, me having been doing content for so long, I'm like, that's a pretty tight timeline too. But yeah.
It's such I wrote a book in that time front line. I created a YouTube channel. I have a podcast with my colleague Meg.
Yeah.
I have never missed a weekly newsletter since 2021.
Yeah.
Every Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern, that thing goes out. And that is the reality. I think if you want to build an audience-based business, and you want to do it with a teeny as hell audience. I mean, I've got 2,000 subscribers and I love every one of them, and comparing myself to other creator businesses, that's not very many. It's both a very short timeline and a lot of work. I mean, every Saturday I'm writing my newsletter. And when I'm on vacation, I'm figuring out, do I write a newsletter before I go? Do I write it while I'm gone? Mm-hmm. Those are some of the decisions that you would need to make in order to make the car go.
I think sometimes people don't realize that the hustle is in these very pragmatic decisions and not necessarily in busyness, because that's not busyness. That is I have a regular content schedule. It has to get done. There is a workflow for this, and I just have to decide, does it come sooner or later? I love that you're describing it in such a non-frenzied way, because sometimes I hear people talk about pumping out their newsletter copy and they're like, oh my God, I have to get it out every week. And I think, when you've published it that many times in a row, as some of us have, you recognize it. You come up with a system and it just becomes baked into your life and your work, and it's regularly occurring.
Exactly.
But also not a small feat.
No, not a small feat. I would say the last 18 months, there have been a series of interlocking external deadlines that just kept me on pace. I wanted to publish the book in October of 2025, which meant starting in December of 2024, I needed to rebrand, which needed to copy, rebrand, new website, finish the book, get the book website up and running, edit the book with my I had a custom publisher, edit the book, finish, set up the site, get the promotion, do all that. And then when I got a bunch of new people in to my world, then it was overhaul the membership, my membership onboarding. And basically it's been 18 months of an interlocking, there's no room for error, because I picked a timeline, I picked a date, and it's go time, and hired a lot of help. It was not a cheap year last year, but that's what was required to get it across the finish line at the level of quality I wanted it and needed it for. Who knows if I'm going to ever publish Buck again? I mean, I will. But that was what was required. There was very little wiggle room in the schedule, and the wiggle room that we had ended up costing money sometimes.
I think, first of all, it makes so much sense why Younger is your show, because it's not just the publishing, the apples to apples publishing kind of thing, but Eliza learns to do multiple things at the same time. She walks back into the workforce and everything's moving at a faster pace because it was Twitter days. RIP Twitter, OG Twitter. and she everything's happening. It feels to her everything's happening at the same time. It moves really fast. And I think a lot of our entrepreneurs today that, we work alongside or sell to or who look up to us, they are feeling that very, very much right now. And I don't think that feeling ever not exists. But I'm wondering if you have any advice for them. I mean, maybe they just need to watch Younger and binge it and get some inspiration, but maybe also you might have some words of wisdom when it comes to have the reality of having to do more than one thing at the same time and really make that larger picture roll down the road and get to the finish line. Because I think a lot of creators, they stall out because you do have to do more than one thing at the same time. And sometimes we don't want to, or it's just really hard. And what would you advise to them?
Find a partner with finishing energy. A lot of people have a lot of activation energy, and I love you all for it. I mean, and this is where the good and the bad about corporate, corporate, you had deadlines, you just hit them. And I've learned to set much better deadlines that don't require me to sacrifice myself. But when I'm yep, there's a deadline. I'm going to hit it. I got my team to help. Sometimes I have external help, but a lot of it is like, there's a deadline. All right, what do we need to do to make that deadline happen? Again, make the deadlines longer, but find a partner that can help you finish. And also recognize that it's never going to be perfect. Like the goal is, part of the reason I'm able to produce so much is because my timelines are tight. There is no room to agonize over the email. There's no room to agonize over the sales page. They're simply going because, so for me, like having somewhat tight timelines, I'm like, it's going to go. Like it's the email that arrives is better than the email that is perfect. Yeah. And I think having some assertive, not aggressive deadlines, but like having some assertive deadlines to say, yep, yeah, we're just going to go.
Sometimes you just have to be like, it's just done. We're just moving. Like if it's worse to not do the thing than to wait for some like magical perfect moment. Okay, I am asking everybody this season, because this is my morbid curiosity. I want to know what everyone pays for health insurance. What is your health insurance bill? What does it look like for you?
Well, currently we're on my husband's health insurance.
Yeah.
But when we move to COBRA, it'll be $1,700 a month. And I do not want to figure out how to get on Marketplace. And it's like, how do we just stay on COBRA until you get the job?
I did that. And then discovered that I make too much money to qualify for the subsidies on Marketplace. So,
well, are there subsidies on Marketplace? I don't know.
There are for some people, but
not for us. I don't think
it is a real bill. I've been comparing numbers with everybody, and I hear from more than one persons out there where they're kind of afraid to make a leap or make a bigger leap beyond what they're doing, because the reality of like, oh, I'll have to be responsible for this is really intimidating for us Americans with our health insurance system. I think it's important for people to know that like the people who are self-sustaining and financially independent, that we are not afraid to pay that bill. Yeah. It's a very unglamorous bill.
Yes. But it's better. I mean, I know what I've paid $1,500 a month for in my business before.
Yes.
There's been many $1,500 a month charges. I'm not afraid to move that money from hiring someone to pitch me on podcasts to paying for my health insurance.
I love that you said that, because smart reallocation of funds has come up more than once as well. So thank you for demonstrating that. Do you have a bill, since we're on bills, do you have a bill that you're weirdly proud to pay?
I don't have a recurring bill I'm weirdly proud to pay, but I have a one-time bill that I like paying my copywriter. I'm really proud to pay my copywriter, who is amazing. But I only hire humans to do my illustrations for me.
Yeah.
That's really important. And I made a map of the foundations that I talk about, literally like a map. And I hired an illustrated map designer from England, who I found on Google, by the way. But I've hired an illustrator for my book and my all of my presentations from Australia, who I know from a different community. And I'm really proud to pay those bills.
That is a cool bill. I also think it's really fascinating because you and Meg co-host a podcast, which you've had me on, called Aggressively Human. We talked all about AI. And so like none of us are afraid of AI, but I love that you're putting your money where your mouth is, and like you're investing in human capital for something that is unique IP and like so much more valuable in the long run. Like what a great place to spend the money early to be able to, interestingly, probably grow more easily later down the line.
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel like you've given up anything in order to build a business that fully supports your life?
So every Saturday, I will say I don't have children. I think I did not have children to build my business. I came into business later in life when my husband and I got married really late. I didn't have kids, but I have given up like every Saturday when my husband goes for his run, because he trains for marathons, I write my newsletter. And most Saturday afternoon, instead of like reading romance novels, I'm working on my book. I'm making a presentation. Like you're catching me at like a very weird time where I'm not working on this Saturday and I might not work on this Sunday. And that's rare. Like for the last July 4th weekend, I remember this for like a weird reason, but I was working on website copy because I had to get it to my web designer. And I was still transitioning off of my fractional COO gig. I hired my backfill and I was working. It was fun work.
Yeah.
Like who doesn't love editing web copy? But I was researching and I was writing and I was in the coffee shop. And, for a while there, I don't want to give up health for that. Like, I don't want to, like, I need to go to the gym, and like my business is not an excuse to not go for the gym. But like what most people have as downtime, I was working.
Yeah. I find that there is this common thread trait between all of us as I record all these conversations. And it's not the unhealthy kind of hustle that we hear talked about. It is this like absolute love for what you do, that when other people are taking it easier or taking time off, or it could be like the standard holiday or, bank holidays that people are like, woohoo, we're going to go take off. We're not doing that. And I wonder like if you have any perspective. I know people are very split on this, but there's a trend. There are lots of trends in business, but one of them is like, I don't work on Fridays, or quitting early or something. And like, I personally don't pay attention to those. I don't really care because I don't feel like I need to run away from my business because I love it. But I'm wondering, like, what's your feeling on that? Like, do you think people need to have regular break times, or are you the kind of person who's like, no, I'll just keep going?
Well, I need to turn off. And I would say that like, with corporate, like I felt the pressure all the time to respond to people during not my best times. But if someone voxes me at like 6:00 at night and I'm walking my dog, I'm going to answer the vox. So I don't love hard and fast rules about my availability, but I know when I like don't want to work. I don't want to work on Monday mornings. I don't want to work any mornings. I like working on Fridays. You know why I don't like working on Fridays? Because other people are not working on Fridays and I can get stuff done. Some people are like, no, you need to end your workday at 6 or 5 or whenever you end your workday. And I'm like, if I'm walking my dog and you Voxer me at 7 when I'm walking my dog, you're there, I'm there. I might as well respond and answer. So I feel like, we have to set our own rules about accessibility, and we have to set our own rules about boundaries in our business. But if I'm working and you send me an email and I might as well respond to it now, I'm going to do that. And so I take my downtime, and I'm taking way more time away from my business now that I'm like past a lot of these like really intense deadlines, but I don't subscribe to like hard and fast rules about my availability and accessibility. I'm like, I know when I don't want to respond to emails. I know when I do want to respond to emails. And I tell people, my hours are not your hours, but I know that my hours are my hours. And I'm like, you're not going to get a response from me at 8 a.m.
Hard pass on the mornings. Do you find that anything is easier now, though, that your business is capable of paying for your life?
So now that my business is capable for my life, the easier thing is that I can spend money on things without having to think so hard about it. The bad news is I can spend money on things without having to think so hard about it. Like I don't like when someone's like, I bought someone's like a $97 thing because I'm like, what is this? And I'm like, oh, okay. I knew what they were going to sell me. I got it. It validated. It's $97. That sounds like very egotistical to say that I can just drop $97 because I know that's a really big expense. I would say that now that my business pays for my life, I have to be really, really careful about what expensive things I spend money on, not because they're bad programs or bad investments, but if I'm not prepared to utilize them, I feel bad. And if they are not a fit for what my business needs next, I really regret the purchase, because a lot of times right purchase, wrong time. Yeah. But also now that my business pays for my life, because of how I set up my business, I don't have to charge absurd prices for things, or prices that I find to be absurd. By the time this goes live, my membership is $50 a month.
Oh, that's nice.
And for the rigor that's there, there's a weekly sales call where we do sales outreach together. There's a weekly planning call. There's like 3 Q&As a month, plus a whole curriculum for $50 a month. I do that because my business makes enough money where I can keep my prices like on the scale of like, it works for you, it works for me. I can put my prices to be on the more accessible side because that's a value that's really important to me.
I've had the same feeling too. I had somebody who's like a very high ticket coach that I got to know earlier in the year who asked me like, Mary, why are you only charging $197 a month for your, creator membership in the studio? And I was like, because there needs to be an accessible option to the marketplace. And then I was also like, well, dude, kind of read the room right now. Like the world is a little crunchy. Would I like to just off the bat put it at like the target monthly rate that eventually it will move into? Sure. But I'm like, but that's not what people are able to do right now or primed to do. And I feel like those of us who are able to be more flexible, like I think it's better for the market when we make everything more accessible. And like I don't need to gouge everybody. Like the money will flow. The money's already flowing. So I love that your membership is only $50. I think what a steal. It's amazing.
For 2 years, it was $30 a month because it started out being something different and it morphed into something else. And I've been fixing it behind the scenes to make it like really a great experience. And now that it is, I'm like, yep, we're going to raise the price. But also, yeah, it becomes easier to do that because I've now built a ballast of like solid one-on-one clients. My cohort program is reasonably priced. Like that's like kind of like the dharma that I think I'm in this world for is accessible business building education because it wasn't available when I started.
Yeah. Oh, I relate to that. I relate to that hard. Speaking of expenses, is there ever been a business expense that nobody warned you about?
It's really, really hard to break into new networks without paying for them every once in a while. Memberships, communities, they're gated and private for a reason. And yeah, you can like, you think about the expenses of software and, you know, graphic design and websites and things like that. But the biggest accelerant to my business has been paying for curated rooms.
Oh, that's such a good answer. Nobody has said that yet. But it's so true. I mean, like we don't like pay to play, but there's a difference between pay to play for visibility's sake and then pay to show your commitment inside of a community that needs to protect its, you know, its reputation.
They're gated for a reason. Community labor is not free. And so if I want to like up my skill level and change who I'm networking with, that's going to come with a cost, either a cost in time, which I didn't necessarily have, or a cost in your effort to organize it, or you pay the financial cost. And a lot of people are like, well, how do I know it's worth it? And I'm like, well, I followed some people around the internet to find the good places of communities. That's how I ended up meeting you and Meg, but you had to pay for some of that accessibility.
Yeah. This is so great because I think a lot of people are really worried about like economics and the financial times we're in. But if your business lost 50% of its revenue tomorrow, what's the first thing you would do?
The first thing I would do is there's a couple of expenses that I would cut. Mm-hmm. And then I would go sell some strategy sessions. I would tap the people in my world. The good news is about my business, and I constructed it this way. Not everyone has this sounds, again, like I recognize I'm coming from the privilege of executive function. Like I recognize this. Everything in my business is long-term recurring revenue. My membership is recurring. People enroll in my cohorts multiple times. I've had some one-on-one clients for like 3 years. So I built a business. Now, if you can tolerate that and your business, like, you know, brand design is not something that naturally has a retainer element to it. Like there's only so much you can do with that. But if you have the tolerance to not get bored of an offer, if you have the tolerance to grow along with your clients and steward them through like a long-term transformation, it's easier to buffet against. If half my clients drop tomorrow, I'd still have most of my revenue. Yeah. And, you know, I now have like a method and I'd go sell some stuff. I'm very privileged that I haven't had to like tap one-on-one clients on the shoulder for a very long time. Yeah. That's because I have not a lot of roster spots open because I have clients that stay with me for a long time.
But the like stacked wins to get to the point that you're at, I think people need to understand it's not just like you go from nothing to like, oh, I'm set. And like if hard times hit, I like that is a like layer upon layer upon layer years of experience kind of journey to get where you're at.
Yeah. Last year, my biggest fractional COO client was $5,000 a month. And that was like a quarter of my revenue at the time. And I'm like, okay, how am I going to solve this? In the summer, I had a couple other clients drop off. That was like the middle of like, you know, everyone's, you know, that's the middle of like the 2025, are we in a recession period? And so I was going to lose 15 grand for just that quarter. And I didn't have any new clients lined up. And so I planned to sell a course. And it was the first course I sold. Like I hadn't really sold other than my cohort and kind of selling my membership, but not really. Like my membership was like, do you want to be a part of it? Here's like 2 emails. And that was literally how I sold my membership. I sold my course called Relationship Rhythms. And I sold it. While I sold it, then I built it. which was, I was up until 1 a.m. figuring out how to get my Notion page protected so that I could send it out the next day. And every week I was like trying to get ahead of it because I sold it, then I had to build it. And I sold 60 seats and had closed like 20 grand. But that's because I hadn't sold to that list in 4 years. It took me 4 years to build a list that could generate me that kind of money. I hadn't sold to them at all.
Yeah.
So it was primed and ready, but it's like built the business, started the membership, then launched a course. And so these were all stacked wins, like basically one new initiative for like 4 years running.
Yeah. Like the trust part of list building is something that when people work on list building in other places, I discover is not talked about as much as the active list building, which is just accumulating people on your list. But like you have to prime people. And I feel like the timelines have gotten longer over the years. And I think justifiably so.
Yeah. But I mean, even with that, like I taught a free class for 4 years before I ever tried to sell something to people. Now that's maybe longer than most people can afford. Mm-hmm. But by the time we got around to it, I had been like, I've actually had to move people from some people who I really respect. All they do is sell in their emails now. And I can't with it. I love your emails on Saturdays because I'm like, Mary's going to tell me something and she's going to say something I needed to hear. But some people, it's just like kind of insight, buy my thing, insight, buy my thing, insight, get on the wait list, insight, thing, do this thing. And it's like, I'm like, where's the value? Why am I supposed to trust you other than you are literally just selling to me? And you're eroding the trust every time a sales email comes in without a corresponding real piece of value.
Yeah. I think one of the more rookie things, and by rookie, I mean like somebody could have been in business a long time and they do this too. And they don't like learn what nurture means. And then they, hit a panic moment, like 50% of the revenue's gone, and they just send an email and it's just like, buy my sham wow. And it's like, nobody wants your sham wow. Nobody signed up for this infomercial. And I think like that reality is hard for a lot of people.
I'm probably paying more attention than almost anybody because this is my business. But like I've clocked a couple of like the big names and they're like, this discount or this bonus will never appear again. And I'm like, so it used to be that this was an async offer only, and that was the selling point. And now every time you want to actually make sales of it, you have to incorporate some live component to it. So maybe the async doesn't work so well for the price point you're charging for it, because it's like, oh, it'll never be this live bonus again. I'm like, well, I just wait till you need the revenue, and then you're going to toss in a different live bonus. Like we're paying attention. Now, again, I pay more attention than others, I think, because that's my job.
Yes. Which is, I think, why I like you so much, because I'm like, your brain does things and says things where I'm like, yes, that thing. Since we're on this thread of entrepreneurs learning hard truths, like, do you think that many entrepreneurs misunderstand, like, what do you think that they misunderstand about becoming fully self-supporting through their business? Because I know that there are people where this is a goal and they've been trying to crack this nut for a long time and they feel like they can't do it. And so that's why I invited all of you on this season, because I really wanted us to speak to them.
So I have two truths. Three truths. I can't help it. One, picking the market has a very, very important implication on how quickly it's going to be able for you to make it self-sustaining. If you sell one-on-one tarot packages, it's going to take longer than if you sell, fractional. Like I could, with a couple of conversations, close 15 grand of recurring monthly revenue by doing fractional COO work. Like I could sustain my life by having 3 connections in my second year of business, and I could have ridden that for like 2 or 3 years. And so I think doesn't mean you can't do it. It does mean really look at what people's business models are and who they choose to serve. Some markets are easier than others. Some services are easier than others. So when someone's like, here's how I, scaled my business to 7 figures. And I'm like, you sell accounting and tax. Literally, that's easy to delegate. Not easy, totally easy, but it's easier because it's standardized. It's recurring and it's monthly. Like it's not one-time services. So just recognize it is easier in some business models than other. 2, I think we underestimate wildly the level of proactive relationship building activity that's required. Like in my programs, I'm like, maintenance is 5 outreaches a week. Maintenance is 1 conversation a week. Maintenance is getting in front of 1 new audience every month. That's maintenance. That's baseline. If you really need to ramp it up, are you consciously expanding your network and pushing the bounds? And if you're not, go listen to their podcast on networking. But I think that's like, we've been seduced by the content engine.
Yeah.
And the secret behind the content engine is people who will showcase your stuff. And those are all relationships. And I think the third truth is like restraint. We all have more to do than we want to do. We all have more to do. Like that's just the reality of it. And so when you're thinking about this, like this is a 4-year, 5-year game, not to burst anyone's bubble, but that means like, okay, like it's one project after one project after one project, strengthening over 3 to 4 years. And then when you look up and you're like, oh, wait, that's a real business under there. You don't see it, but a lot of people are like, I want the business now. And I'm like, why don't we do one project at a time, one step at a time? It doesn't look like it, but then when the ball of momentum starts, you can't stop it.
Yeah, that's such good advice and so succinct. Well, I've been asking everybody to finish out their episode this season by doing a little Mad Libs game. So we're going to fill in the end of the sentence. The sentence is, my business pays for my life. And that means fill in the blank.
My business pays for my life. And that means I have a responsibility to steward my business. That means doing the work to keep it healthy when I don't want to. It means tending to it. It means doing my books. It means showing up for it when I don't feel like it. It means putting things on the not now list that I want to do. Like this is a responsibility for me, but it means I have the ability to really invest in my relationships, invest in my friends, invest in my husband, invest in my local community, invest in my dog, invest in myself. But that investment comes with a responsibility.
Oh, that's such a beautiful answer. Oh my gosh. You're such a powerhouse. I'm so glad that we know each other now. And I'm so glad that you came on this season. It's so special. I'm going to encourage everybody to go to the show notes. You've given me all your information, so I've put it all in there. They can click on your links if they are so inclined to book you, and definitely check out the things that you have to offer so that they can keep working with you. Because like this vibe is so right. It's pragmatic and sustainable, and it's not like, flash in the pan, just sort of Instagram trend business. This is like real business. That's it for this episode of the School of Moxie podcast. This season was produced and edited by me, Mary Williams, through Sensible Woo and now Sasquatch Media Grounds out of Vancouver, Washington. If you're a business owner and you want help building your own media engine, maybe it's your podcast, your YouTube channel, your content, the whole visibility machine, come and subscribe to my emails at sensiblewoo.com/subscribe. I'll show you how it's done and I'll hook you up with the good stuff. See you on the inside.